Hi, in this video, we are going to learn about Apex properties. What is an Apex property? An Apex property is similar to a variable which we generally use in Salesforce Apex. The major difference between Apex property and a variable is Apex property supports writing business logic inside your properties before the value is being accessed or before the value is being set. So basically, the area where we will be using Apex properties most of the times is in Visual Force pages. In Visual Force pages, generally you will be having a page. So generally you will be having your VF pages. For example, this is a VF page and you will be having your Apex controller. Let's say, for example, for each and every VF page, there will be an Apex code behind the scene. That generally we call it as Apex controllers. So in your Apex controller or in your Apex class, if you have a variable or if you have a property, if you want to display the values of the property into your VF pages, or if you want to enter the values into the VF pages, then the variable should have a get and set method. That is with the help of Apex properties, we can render the values from Apex classes into a VF page. So this is where we will be using most of the times the Apex properties. In this video, we are not going to look into the VF pages. We will be learning how to create an Apex property, how Apex properties will behave. All those fundamentals we are going to learn in this video. So Apex properties can be set as a read-only property. That is, users can access, but users cannot set values directly, using the class name or using the object. So in your presentation, you are seeing, the difference between variables and properties in terms of syntaxes. If you look at the variable will have a scope that is public, private, or whatever it may be. Similarly, you'll be having a data type, as well as the variable name. The first line of the variable, right? So this is similar to what generally we used to write with properties also. Public, that is the scope, it matches. Integer, it matches, and then salary, it matches. Here comes the difference. And after that, the way you will be writing the functions, right, with curly braces. Similarly, you have to write the curly braces. Inside the curly braces, you will be having two methods called get method and set method. These two methods generally helps you to set the values as well as retrieve the values from the property. So basically, the point here is properties are similar to variables, but the only difference is properties allows you to have your business logic inside the property. So the syntax for the properties we just now saw, right? So Apex properties generally have two accessors. We generally call it as a methods. One is a get method and another one is a set method. It is self-explanatory. From the name itself, we can easily understand what the role of get, what the role of set. Set means it is used to set value for the property. Get means it is used to retrieve the value. If you want to get the values of your property, then get method will be used by Salesforce Apex. So since it is going to return the value back to the user, then the get method should have a return statement in it. So in this get method and set method, you are allowed to write your business implementation. This is a simple Apex class. For example, you have a basic Apex class. Inside the Apex class, you will be writing the property. It will have a access modifier, return type, property name. We have explained this in a detailed way, right? So let's try to write a simple Apex property and we will understand how an Apex property looks like. For example, I'm going to create an Apex class and the class name is discount utility. Let's keep the class name as discount utility. This class is going to have a property called discount. I'm going to create a property called property discount. I'm going to create a discount property and discount. How to write a property? The first point is, access modifier, right? I'm going to keep this as public and then the return type or the data type, you can call it as a data type public. It's going to be an integer and then your property name. My property name is discount. then curly braces. So once you are done that, you can immediately go for the accessors. There is two methods generally we have inside the property. One is get method and another one is called set method. All right. So simply you can immediately write get method and set method. So this get method and set methods are used to set the values and get the value. As I told earlier, the get method is used to return the value. So it is expecting a return statement similar to the function. So I'm going to use return. What I'm going to return? Simply I'm going to return the property discount. That's it. Okay. So if you look at this particular property, we have created a property called discount. The discount property has a set method and we have a get method. Inside the set method, we have a curly braces, right? It means that there is no business logic in it. Okay. So suppose if you want to set a value for the property, then you can use discount is equal to value. So you might be wondering, I haven't declared any variable called value. Then what is this value? So this is what the compiler generally used. Suppose if you are going to set the value for your discount, then the value you are going to set will be automatically copied into this variable by your Apex compiler. That value will be copied into discount. So this is how a simple set method can be returned. So now we are all good. We have a property. The property is used to set the value for discount as well as we can retrieve the values of the property. Let's understand how to access these values. So let me first clear all the, clear the anonymous window. I'm going to access this. So this is a public property. So this is an Apex class. First I need to create object for the class, right? So let me create an object is equal to new and then the class name. Okay, object creator. Now using the object, I'm going to set value for discount. So object dot how you will be setting value for the variables, the same way you will be accessing the properties also. My property name is discount, so I'm going to set discount is equal to 10. And now what will happen when line number 10 executed, immediately compiler will check the set method. In the set method, the value 10 will be copied into the variable value and it will be set, it will be assigned to the property discount. Suppose if the discount property is properly set up or not, we can display with the help of debug statement. System.debug, I'm going to use object.discount. I'm trying to access the discount property. Now in line number 3, what will happen? We are trying to access. So the get method from the property will get execute and it will return simply a discount property, right? Whatever the value in the discount, that will be returned back. You might be wondering, well, I can do the same thing with the help of a simple variable, right? Yes. In the upcoming, lectures, we will be trying to modify the get method and set method by introducing our business implementation. So this is a very basic how you can write a simple, Apex property. So let's try to check whether we were able to successfully set up the value for the property and we were able to successfully retrieve the value from the property. Let me try to execute. I'm going to execute this. It is done. So let's go for debug only. So we successfully set up the value for the property 10 and also we were able to retrieve the value from the property with the help of get method. So this is how you can write a simple Apex property. So when we are discussing about setting up the value, actually, if you look at here, I don't have any business implementation, right? See here in this particular format, we have a set semicolon. There is no curly brace, nothing is there because I don't have any business logic. Simply, I need to copy. If you simply want to copy the value into the property, then no need to have any definition here. You can keep it set semicolon. Let me try to do the same in the Apex code. So let me try to move to the Apex code and I will show you how you can do this. Let's say, for example, this is one way, one flavor, how you can write the set method. Now I'm going to command this. I don't have any business logic here to set up the value. So I'm keeping the set property, set method really very simple. So line number 10 is similar to what you have below. So if you want to simply copy the value into your property, you can write set semicolon, set colon, curly braces, discount is equal to value, or simply you can use set semicolon. This will do the same work what you have previously written here. Let's confirm this. Let me try to save this piece of code. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to execute this, and I'm going to execute this. Before that, let's allow this Apex code to save. Once it is saving, it is done. Let me try to execute. It is executed. Go for debug only. The same output I got, right? So I'm able to successfully set up the value for the property discount. And meanwhile, I'm able to retrieve the same value back, right? So the point here is set method is really a, required with curly braces when you have your own business calculation before setting the value. Suppose if you are going to do a calculation here before setting up the value, then it's good to go with set curly braces and then definition. You are simply going to use the set method to copy the value, then keep it simple. Set semicolon. This will work. Let's see the next concept. How to create a read-only property. Sometimes you may not be interested to allow the users to modify the property. You wanted to create a property, the property should be only, you know, accessible to the users. They are not allowed to modify the value in the property. That is called read-only property. How to create a read-only property? It is pretty straightforward. Suppose if you want to create a read-only property, only thing you have to do here is you have to add private scope here. If you look at this piece of code, I have declared set method as private. This makes this property as a read-only property. So users can set a value from line number 2, right? So that's what the previous implementation. Now, if you are going to do the same, then probably you will end up with an error. Let's try this. Let me try to execute this piece of code. See here, variable is not visible. Why it is saying that variable is not visible? Because this set method is declared as a private. So users cannot set up a value here. I cannot do line number 2. If you are going to set up a value for the property, Apex won't allow you because it is a read-only property. How it becomes a read-only property? The set method is declared with a private scope. So since the set method is having a private scope, private access modifier, users cannot set value for this property. Then what is the use of property? So the use of the property is still you can set values inside the get. For example, I'm going to write like this, discount is equal to 25. So through the Apex code, I'm setting the discount value to 25. I'm not allowing my end users to set their own discount value. If I'm going to execute this program, it will execute and I will get the output as discount is equal to 25. You're able to see, right? The discount is 25. So this helps you to create a read-only property. Now the discount is called as a read-only property. It means users cannot set a new value for the discount property. Users can only access whatever the value available in this property. So this is how you can create a simple read-only property by keeping your set method private. So next, let's try to solve some business use case. The business use case here is we need to create a property named counter. We need to create a property named counter. So this counter property should be accessible outside the Apex class. It means that the property should be public. Then only the users can access it outside the Apex class. Next point, restrict users from setting up value for the property counter. We have to keep the property as a read-only property. Just now we saw with the help of private set method, we can keep the property as a read-only property. Here comes the business logic. How to set the value for the counter? The business requirement is each and every call, each and every time when users are trying to access this particular property, we have to increment the value by 1. First time you are going to call the counter property, it will return a value of 1. Second time, if you are going to call the counter property, it will return the value of 2. Third time, if you are going to call the counter property, it should return 3. This is what the business expectation. So let's try to implement the business implementation with the help of an Apex property. For that, I'm going to write a new Apex class. I'm going to write a new Apex class, Apex prop and demo. Let me write like this, Apex prop demo. So this is a simple, Apex class. In this Apex class, I'm going to, introduce a property called counter. As per the business requirement, I need to declare a variable, a property called counter. So once you are going to create a property, immediately, as I told earlier, you can go for get and set. As far as the set method is concerned, the business requirement is users should not be allowed to change the value in the counter. So I need to create it as a read-only property. So I'm keeping this set method as a private. As far as the get method, we have a business requirement. So the business requirement says that each and every call access the property should increment the value by 1. So whatever the value we have in this counter variable, we have to increment this by 1. Right? Counter is equal to counter plus 1. And then we have to return counter. The problem with this piece of code is, let's say for example, initially the counter will not have any values in it. There is no default value setup. So it means that counter will be null. So we have to initialize this counter variable with 1. How to do that? If the counter is null, then set a 0. If the counter is not null, then ignore that line, come and try to increment the value. So this is what the business logic. So what I'm trying to do here is, if counter is equal to null, it means that first time when a user is going to call, this property will be null, right? So if counter is equal to null, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up counter is equal to 0. Simply, I want to execute this line. If counter is equal to null, the counter should be set up to 0. If the counter is not null, then line number 6 will be ignored. It will go and execute 7 and 8. First time when a user is trying to call this Apex property, then counter will be null. So counter will be initialized to 0, 0 plus 1, 1, 1 will be returned. Second time the same property is accessed, counter will have a value of 1, right, already. So it means that line number 6 will ignore. It will go to line number 7. 1 plus 1, 2, 2 will be returned back. So let's try to experiment this. I'm going to create an object for Apex prop demo. I'm going to create an object for Apex prop demo. Obj is equal to new Apex prop demo. Now obj dot, I'm trying to access counter. Can I access this? No. Why? Because the set method is a private. It's a read-only property. Let's try to execute and understand what's the behavior. Expression cannot be a statement. I think, we should use a debug statement, right? We cannot simply use like this. So let me try to use system.debug obj.counter, right? And then try to execute highlighted. Now it is executed, and we have printed the value, right? So we have printed the value. So initially we are getting the value 1. So let me try to execute again and try to execute again. We are not setting any values. We are simply trying to retrieve. So second time when the same counter property is accessed, 1 will become 2 and it will increment. It is trying to increment. At the same time, if you are trying to set up the value for counter, counter is equal to 100, like this, when you are trying to execute, it will say that variable is not visible. Why? Because it's a read-only property. If you look at here, private method is private access modifier is added in front of set. It means that it's a read-only property. You cannot explicitly set value for this property. But at the same time, each and every call, our requirement is we have to increment the value in it. So we were able to achieve the similar kind of requirement. We cannot do that with the help of a variable. So that's the difference between variable and property. Property helps you to write your business implementation before setting value for a property. So let's move on. and discuss one more business use case. So this will makes you thorough about Apex properties. So in this business use case, ABC industry generally wants to set up a discount based on industry. So we need to set up discount based on industry. So the industry discount both should be accessible to the users outside the Apex class. It means that if you want to set up a discount, then you should give the Apex program what is your intended industry. Then only Apex will set up the discount for that, right? So at the same time, users are not allowed to set up the discount. So obviously, it's going to be a private property. How to set up the discount? We have a criteria for that. If the industry is education, then discount is 20. If the industry is banking, then discount is 10. So this is what the business requirement. If you look at here, I'm going to create discount as a property because it needs some business implementation, right? Based on the industry, we need to set up the discount. So we need to have some business implementation. So I'm planning to create a discount as a property. The industry I'm going to declare as a simple string variable because it is going to be used to store whatever the industry the end user is intended to store. So let's use the same Apex class. I'm going to introduce a variable first, public string, and then it is going to be industry, and this is a string variable. And let me keep industry is equal to education, or we will set up from the anonymous window. Okay, because it's a public, property, public variable, right? Now I'm going to introduce the property in, discount, public integer, and then discount. And this is the property. If it is a property, immediately there will be a get method. Get method will have a return statement of the same property. I'm going to return, and then definitely you will have a set method. As per the business requirement, this set method should be a private because it's a read-only property. So we have successfully created a property called a discount, and it is going to be a read-only property. So let me try to correct the spelling, and let me save this. Here comes the business implementation. The business says that now this will have a null value, right? Because there is no default value set up. So we are going to set up the value for the discount using the get method, but it has a dependency on the industry, right? So I'm going to write the condition if industry as per the business requirement. If industry is equal to by education, let's go for education. Industry is equal to education, and then discount should be 20%. So if industry is equal to banking, then it's going to be 10%. That's what the business requirement, right? I'm going to write like this. If industry is equal to banking, let me save here, change here banking, and then the discount should be 10. So we are basically trying to set up the value for a property called discount, but based on the value stored in another string variable, right? So this is the business implementation. It is possible we can write a business implementation inside the property get method or set method, whatever it may be. Why we are writing inside the get method? Because the set method should not be accessible to the end users. It should be a read only. So that's the reason our implementation is inside the get method. I'm done here. So it's time to unit test this. Let's go for, our anonymous window. Let's use the same object, obj, and I'm going to set up obj dot discount is equal to 100. Let's see whether we were able to access we were able to set up the value for discount outside the class. Let me try to execute highlighted. It is not possible because it's a private set. Method is there. It means that it's a read-only property. We cannot do that. Okay. So now if you want to set up the discount, if you want to identify the discount for a particular industry, first you need to set up the value for the industry. I'm going to set up industry is equal to education. Now immediately, if you are going for a debug, the property called discount, then based on the value you have stored in the industry, a discount will be calculated and that discount will be returned back. Education means the discount expected to be 20. So we will be getting an output as 20. Let's try this, execute highlighted and go for debug only. It is 20. Let's unit test the other scenario. Suppose if I'm going to use banking here, if it is a banking, then when you are trying to access the property, get method will be called. It will check industry is equal to banking. So discount 10 will be assigned. So let me try to execute highlighted. And this time the expected output is 10. Yes, we are getting 10. So this is how you can write a simple Apex property with the help of get and set. You can have your business implementation inside it with the help of private scope for this set. You can keep this as a read-only property. So this is basically a non-static property. You can create a static property also. So if you want to convert this discount as a static property, then you have to add static here. Then you have to add static to the industry also, because that variable you are using inside this, right? If it is a static block, then your industry variable also should be a static variable. Hope this video given you some clarity on what is mean by Apex property, why we will be using the Apex property, what is the difference between variable and Apex property.
If you are interested to learn Salesforce, visit AJ Skill Development website. There you can find our course curriculum and you can come to know about the list of courses we are offering. We are offering Salesforce Administrator and Salesforce Development courses. To know about us and the team, you can visit our About Us section. This is an organization we are doing Salesforce training from 2018, and we have trained and guided 2000 plus candidates so far. And if you also want to know about our placement assistance, visit our placement assistance section where you can find the list of people and the category. You can see the list of people who got trained and placed from our side. You can also visit their LinkedIn pages to get to know about our training and also the feedback from the relevant trainees. Okay. And also, if you want to do the course inquiry, click on contact us. You will see the form. You can fill the form and submit the inquiry. Our team will get back to us. Thank you.